This is the evaluation for in what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and versions of real media products. So we've had various examples, but on this page I've rounded up to camera shots and an example with a video taken from The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings films. So first of all, let's talk about the transition. We use a transition that was purely fitted for the scene we wanted. So we wanted an instant flashback due to the fact that it's an instant memory. Now that effect, originally we had a slow transition, and what the actual like a fade to colour was normally used for like going into different scenes or passing through time, as it's quite a slow fade. We found that didn't work for a flashback because in the general way we used it, it didn't really fit the mood to. Well, it didn't really fit the scene at all. So we had to reevaluate different ways we could make the transition for memory as fast as possible. And so we was going for Final Cut Pro, looking at all the different fades, and we settled for the instant colour, like it's like a colour burn. So it's an instant pow, and that was quite effectively used within each memory, and we were quite happy with it. We found it was much more effective than obviously the slow fading, as it fit the mood, or it fit the whole climate of the scene. Now, if we look at the video link we have above of the Lord of the Rings flashback, we've referred that in the group evaluation in the first video. We can see that obviously it's like a soft transition, and there's dialogue being spoken over it, and that was really to make it more of a reminiscent scenario, and overall it showed the director's understanding of like what's appropriate, when it's appropriate, and obviously how it can make the impact of making the whole scene flow the way they wanted it to. So we obviously developed upon that idea and challenged it by obviously, like I said, about the instead of a slow, we need a fast instant flashback, and yeah, we did that. So that convention was challenged and developed. It was quite an ambitious attempt, but fortunately for us, it did work. So it was quite happy with it. Now we also had camera work where we were becoming much more creative and trying to develop the way we used the camera and our environment. So we were doing stuff like shots in the cupboard. So it was really making quite nice use of what we have around us, and to really make it fit within the scene. We found that various directors do shots like that, and it's quite creative and quite an explorative form of developing our camera work. So upon briefing our cameraman Tasir and Albert, we found that there was appropriate uses. We wasn't going to overdo the creative work, camera work, because if we done too much of it, I guess it would draw away from the displaying what we want it to. So say for example, we want to show a conversation. There's no point doing a conversation behind trees and stuff because it's not appropriate. So when there's the scene with me and the other character walking through the woods and obviously having a conversation, we didn't really find any appropriate use from drawing the camera work around the environment to display it in a better way and a much more creative way. So that wasn't really appropriate. So let's go back to the image. Our custom made transition. That was where we had our protagonist in the intro thrown over the tower of the camera. Now that was the idea of that was pretty much it was a instant fade into the next scene, or the next shot, shall I say. So obviously making the camera go camera's view black and not seeing anything, and instantly after we have the wardrobe opening. So that was a quite nice fit. That was our own form of camera work there. So it was more of an instant thought really. It was like, oh, let's try this, and fortunately for us, it did work. and obviously draw it together with another shot. So when the towel goes to the camera, the next thing you know is the light's being drawn from the cupboard being opened. So it was quite a creative way of doing it. So, and we were quite happy with it. So we didn't make our own transition. We through digital form. We used props and the camera to do it for us. So it was a quite creative and ambitious attempt, like the previous. But like I said, fortunately for us, it worked. Now we have the at the end of the intro, we have the title sequence. And this is above us. We have above this video, you'll have the image of the two characters walking into the scene with the title of the film. Now we want an instant change of what's the word for it? Change of climate. Well, that climate would be the wrong word. Just a change of feel. So we wanted it from being a depressive motion or a curious motion into a quite giving an explanation. So using two characters to explain what's going on was an effective use of narrative, and obviously use of actors. So upon the scene prior with our protagonist looking quite down, and then it fades into the title, we're instantly introduced to two characters by them walking. We have just their legs walking past the camera, and then the conversation emerges from there. And we were against time. We had to, in our original shot, we did drag that scene out a bit too long, so we had to reshoot it. Fortunately for us, it was a better outtake, and we had more shots, because in the previous, as you could see in our first draft, it was a bit dragged out, and so that was quite an effective use. The change between one scene with the title to another was quite quite successful in the way we wanted it to be. Now finally we have another shot where we have our protagonist at the reception of the high school with another actor who is being the receptionist. We had the camera within the reception, obviously displaying both our character's face at the desk and at the help desk, and our actor who was acting as the receptionist going through the computer to find information. Now we wanted to obviously portray where the protagonist is, and from there the reception was the most appropriate because it's the only form of access into the school. We're into a common high school, so we kept a realistic approach to it. We had we had information given to us from the receptionist for the narrative to make sense, for the character to find the location. Well, when we were using the receptionist, we used the receptionist to get information that would make the narrative make sense. So we found out who the teacher was, what department they work in, so that gave away the location. Now, other ways we used confessions of real media products was the fact that we used social networking sites within our short film to get information. As we know, social networking such as Facebook is basically obviously have a wide appeal and a wide range of audience, and so pretty much most people, all my little group know, personally use Facebook. Our parents use Facebook and stuff like that. So I mean, it's a general tool for people to communicate, and so we use that as a general source to get further information and use it so the narrative flowed even more in the fact of getting information about people. And so I mean, I wouldn't say it was so much develop or challenge, because I know like a lot of films do, like modern films use Facebook, Twitter and stuff like that within their material for different uses. And we weren't really developing the idea because it wasn't so much anything to really develop by. We were using it for its sole purpose, really. So really just used it as an information source. Really, the same aspect as a database. You go there to look for information that's valid for your search, and we interpreted that and implemented it within our own film. So yeah, that was quite a convenient use. We do use mobile devices obviously for communication, such as the taxi call, calling a taxi driver, communicating, just using it as a method of communication. We use laptops. We used the laptop with the mum character when she was looking for a job. So we used the website Indeed.co.uk, what is purely known for its job hunt use, and a lot of people use it. So we were developing the ideas of what general technologies what they do and their use in the modern day, and we illustrated it within our short film quite clearly. We did focus a lot on getting information as the main theme, the main draw from the material, from our material, was getting information to tell the journey and get the just get the ending we want. And when you look back on it, it was purely about getting information based on memories, information from social networking, and information from just general like being the father character being a teacher, now, and getting that information from the receptionist. Now we're using general logical concepts to get information, and it made the narrative work the way it did, because obviously, like I said, it was more of drawing the information and logically using that information to find the character's long lost father. And we depicted that quite well. So overall, I think this evaluation shows how we developed and challenged forms and conventions of real media products, and a pure focus on how we used real life media products, such as just technologies such as Facebook, just social network in general, online searches for jobs and stuff like that, and from there having a realistic approach, what is the most important to a social realism film, and understanding what each character's values were within the main storytelling of the film. And it was more focused on the strong relationship between the narrative and how we depicted that narrative within the short film. So overall, we were quite happy with it. Camera work, like I said, we did have quite creative uses with our camera work. We didn't want to overdo it, and I don't believe we had too less of it. We used everything as appropriately as possible. Maybe we could develop on it if we were ever to reshoot again, but for now we're quite happy with the way the products came and the material in general. So it was a quite good and productive learning curve for all of us.